A small family, a mother, a father, and their two children are spending a quiet moment together on the bed. The mother usually washes tomatoes for both of them, but that afternoon only the son gets one. Her daughter Fa Fa is left out, though her mother promises she will wash more tomatoes for her later. That night, the children fall asleep in their room, while their parents step outside. Then suddenly, everything starts to shake. A massive earthquake strikes, tearing the city apart. Buildings collapse, homes crumble, and people run in every direction, trying to escape the falling debris. The family's apartment is no exception. It collapses, trapping both children inside. The parents rush back in panic, seeing their children buried under the wreckage. They try to reach them, but the father stops the mother from going in. Moments later, tragedy hits again. The shaking eventually stops, but the devastation is everywhere. Families are torn apart, and countless people are left searching for their loved ones. And in that moment, their lives are shattered forever. This is aftershock. The mother, Yuan Ni, desperately digs through the rubble, calling out for her children. Then she hears a faint tapping sound. It is Fa Fa, still alive, weakly knocking on a stone. Nearby, her son Dada is barely conscious, his arm trapped under the debris. Rescue workers arrive, but the situation is critical. The structure is unstable, and they cannot save both children at the same time. The mother is forced into an impossible decision. She has to choose which child will be saved first. Time is running out. Fa Fa grows weaker with every second, her tapping slowing down. The pressure builds, and the rescuers demand a decision. In the end, the mother chooses to save her son. Believing her daughter is already gone, she asks them to save Dada. Those are the last words Fa Fa hears. From that moment on, Fa Fa feels abandoned, as if her own mother chose to leave her behind. Time passes. When the rubble is finally cleared, Fa Fa's body is assumed to be among the dead. She is placed with the other victims. But then something unexpected happens. She wakes up. Covered in dust and dirt, she stands and looks around, searching for her mother, only to realize she is already gone, evacuated with Dada. Fa Fa is alive, but her mother does not know. She is later found and rescued by a couple of soldiers working in the disaster area. They take her in and raise her as their own child. She grows up in a loving home, goes to school, and eventually pursues medicine, building a new life for herself. Meanwhile, Dada grows up with his biological mother. Because of the earthquake, his arm has to be amputated. Even so, he is raised with care and love. As he gets older, he moves to the city, becomes successful, starts his own business, and eventually builds a family of his own. As Fa Fa grows older and enters medical school, she moves out of her adoptive home and begins living in a dorm. There, she meets a senior student who often helps her. Over time, they grow close and eventually start a relationship, with him frequently visiting her at the dorm. Not long after Fa Fa leaves home, her adoptive mother's health begins to decline. Her condition worsens until she eventually passes away. When that moment comes, Fa Fa is right there by her side. Before her final breath, her adoptive mother asks her to return to her hometown and try to find her real family. She also leaves Fa Fa with some belongings and savings for her future. After the funeral, Fa Fa returns home with her adoptive father. The loss weighs heavily on him, and it shows in his expression. The next day, Fa Fa meets her boyfriend and tells him that she is pregnant. Instead of supporting her, he refuses to take responsibility. After that moment, Fa Fa disappears without a trace. Her adoptive father searches everywhere for her, even confronting her boyfriend. That is when he learns the truth about her pregnancy. He is shocked and heartbroken, but no matter how hard he looks, he cannot find her. Time passes. Fa Fa never returns to medical school. Instead, she begins working as a private tutor, quietly building a life on her own. Years go by without any contact. Then one day, Fa Fa finally decides to return home. This time, she is not alone. She brings with her a daughter who is already grown. Her adoptive father is overwhelmed with joy to see her again, especially meeting his granddaughter for the first time. At the same time, he cannot hide his frustration over how suddenly she disappeared, leaving him worried for so many years. During their reunion, Fa Fa apologizes and opens up to him. She admits that she knows her biological mother and brother are still alive, but the words from that day in the rubble have never left her. She has always believed that her mother chose her brother over her, and that she was left behind to die. Her adoptive father gently reminds her that the past cannot be changed, and encourages her to face it and find her real family. Still, Fa Fa is not ready. Instead, she decides to stay with him and rebuild their life together. Meanwhile, her biological mother has spent all these years living with deep guilt, believing that her daughter died in the earthquake. Both she and Dada have accepted that Fafa is gone. Eventually, Fafa moves to Canada and starts a new life with a new husband, a man older than her and from a different country. One day, while watching the news together, they learn about another devastating earthquake in China. As a doctor, Fafa feels a strong pull to help. With her husband's support, she decides to go. She travels back to China and joins the rescue efforts, helping the victims of the disaster. After a long day, while taking a short break, she overhears a man talking about his past, about surviving an earthquake and losing his younger sister. The story sounds painfully familiar. Drawn by that connection, Fafa approaches him, and in that moment, she realizes the truth. The man is Dada, the brother she has been separated from all these years. At last, the two siblings find each other again. The next day, Dada takes Fafa to meet their mother. Fafa goes with him, but her heart is still heavy, and she is not fully ready to face her. They arrive at the front door of their mother's house. When the door opens, their mother sees Fafa standing there, but Fafa remains still, almost like a stranger who does not belong. Inside, she is welcomed by Dada's wife and his teenage son. Dada calls for their mother from the kitchen, telling her that her daughter has come home. At first, there is no reaction. They are simply told to sit in the living room. As Fafa steps inside, she notices something that stops her. There is a photo of her and her father placed like a memorial, with tomatoes soaking in front of it, just like the ones her mother used to prepare for her. Then everything changes. Her mother suddenly comes forward, no longer distant. The weight of years breaks all at once. She drops to her knees, overwhelmed with emotion, carrying decades of guilt, longing, and regret. In that moment, Fafa finally begins to soften. She kneels down as well, reaching out to her mother. Both of them break down, releasing years of pain they have carried in silence. Through tears, the truth comes out. Back then, her mother believed Fafa was already gone. She could no longer hear her voice, while Dada was still alive, though badly injured. With no time left and under pressure, she made the only decision she thought she could. After that day, she never stopped searching. She went from one shelter to another, hoping to find even the smallest trace of her daughter, but she never did. For all those years, she lived with the belief that Fafa had died. That night, Fafa shares her own story. She talks about the parents who raised her, the life she built, and the family she now has. She shows photos of her husband and her daughter, who has already grown up and is in college. Her mother listens in shock, taking in everything she missed. Alongside that surprise, there is also pain, especially when she learns about the hardships Fafa went through at such a young age. The next day, they visit their father's grave. Right in front of it stands another grave, one that bears Fafa's name. After paying their respects to their father, they move to Fafa's grave. Slowly, Dada begins to open it. He considers removing the grave altogether, but Fafa stops him. To her, it does not matter where she will rest one day. She feels that this is where she belongs, close to her father. Their mother agrees and tells Dada to respect her decision. As they carefully remove the stones, they discover something unexpected inside. There are books, pencils, a school bag, and other belongings neatly placed within. Fafa kneels down, quietly going through the items. That is when Dada explains the truth. All these years, their mother had been buying everything in pairs. One set for him and another for Fafa. Every new school year, she would prepare books and supplies for Fafa as if she were still there. In her heart, she never stopped being a mother to both of them. She wanted Fafa to have the same things, to share the same life, even if they were no longer in the same world. Hearing this, Fafa can no longer hold back her emotions. The weight of everything finally breaks through. She kneels before her mother, filled with regret for all the years lost, for all the misunderstandings she carried. Overwhelmed, she asked for forgiveness, realizing how much her mother had endured in silence. At that moment, Dada steps forward and embraces their mother as the family, once torn apart by tragedy, finally begins to heal together. So the moral of the story is sometimes the people we think abandoned us were actually breaking inside trying to save us. And by the time we understand their love, we've already lost so many years we can never get back.